Jeffrey doesn't care about anyone or anything but himself. He is the worst kind of person. You see Jeffrey going through the drive-thru of McDonald's. He parks his car, he eats the shitty food, and then worst of all, he grabs the rubbish. And then you see him throw it out of his car. Jeffrey doesn't care. Do you? Adonis. Adonis has progressed himself so much and accomplished so much that now he has the capacity to help not only his loved ones, not only his community, but the entire world. Adonis makes movements that are far bigger than him. He encourages wider communities to make positive differences in the world, cleaning up rubbish, helping survivors of natural disasters, easing the effects of climate change. This is a man who has truly conquered so much in his life. We can't help but look up to someone like that. A few days ago, I had a sickening leg session in the gym. Took like a decent amount of pre-workout, smashed some like leg press, hip thrust, calf raises. Yes, I train calves, fuck off bro. I'm having a good time. I'm feeling like really happy, listening to good music. Then I run back home, or like I'm walking back home because I'm tired. I was really, observing, like it was such a nice peaceful day. Honestly, I don't think there was like a single cloud in the sky, which is kind of rare for the UK. The sun's out and I'm just kind of being present and grateful for the world around me. And I'm looking over at like the nature around. And it really reminded me of when I used to live in the city and it was all like dark and grey. And like I'm so grateful for the amount of like nature and green around me. And that's when I got really sad, because as I'm looking at like, these bushes and trees to the side of me when I'm walking back home, I'm really paying attention to them. I kind of noticed like a lot more rubbish than like I usually notice because I'm not really paying attention, like a lot more. Once I really looked, I was like, what the f? Like it's literally littered with like f***ing rubbish. Like this is actually like, it's so much more. Once you actually look, then you're like, what the f? And one of the things I noticed, I'm looking at all these pieces of junk and rubbish and wrappers. Every single thing was some kind of instant gratification. It was all junk food and snacks and alcohol. It really made me think, wait, imagine the delayed gratification of food. It's like, the vegetables and healthy stuff. You're not gonna see that like as a litter, are you? Because it decomposes. And even then, let's say if there's like vegetables that come in like a plastic packaging, this is like bro science, it might not be accurate, but it's in my perception that the people who eat more vegetables, who do more delayed gratification stuff, who are healthier, probably litter less. I'm looking at this rubbish and then I realized I'm actually so privileged to see this amount of rubbish right now. It made me visualize mountains and mountains of waste that's sent to other countries. And I want to clarify, I've said in this video about like climate change and everything, like I'm completely uneducated and ignorant in this topic, but it really fucking hit me today. And I think the reason why I've never cared about this is because I've never truly had the capacity to care about something so much like bigger than I am. Like, this is like a worldwide problem. Most of my self-improvement efforts have just been on myself and then eventually for this channel and for the boys. And this really just made me think instant gratification is like destroying the world. It literally is destroying the world. It's the fast food joints, the junk food, and the people who drink alcohol, the people who are just taking like a lot of drugs. This is completely like irrelevant somewhat, but I would assume that the majority, okay, we know for a fact the majority of people are sleep deprived. So I would say that the times when someone has gotten into a car crash and died, like imagine like one of your friends who drives, you just hear the news one day that he was hit by another car and he literally was killed. And the other person wasn't drinking or anything too obvious. And it's just an accident. But is it really? Because the other person has been sleep deprived for most of their life because they scroll on Instagram before they go to bed every single night. The amount of damage that's being done to the planet and to our world by weak people who are succumbing to the pleasure and the comfort of instant gratification. I think that's the majority of the damage to our planet is coming from people like that. That's why we strive to be stronger with our goal of becoming more like Adonis. You'll notice that you'll naturally have more of a capacity to help more than just yourself. If previously I saw someone do it, or if I thought of myself to do it, I would have thought, no, that's gross, that's someone else's litter, is probably dirty. The last like year or so, I've kind of noticed that sometimes, especially around like my house and my neighborhood here, if there's like something on the floor, sometimes I'll just pick it up and yeah, it's like dirty or something, but I'll pick it up and I'll put it in the bin myself. Maybe that's something that you should consider now. This is your neighborhood, it's your community. Why don't you be like the person who sets the example? There's some like dumbass kids or some fat person who's littered something, or those fucking disgusting, like people still fucking smoke cigarettes, but there's someone who smokes and like they leave the little butt and they just tossed it to the side. Imagine if they just kind of saw you, don't be a dickhead, don't like shout at them or anything, but imagine they just saw you pick it up and like stamp it out and like put it into like smoking ashtrays in a bin or something like that. Or you see some like dumbass little kid throw like a snack wrapper on the floor and they see you pick it up and put it in the bin. You don't say anything, you just kind of like smile and give them a thumbs up, because if you act like a dickhead, like, oh, I'm so prestigious, I'm helping, you're just gonna offend that person and they're gonna think that you're like a bad person and it's not gonna do anything. But imagine if you show yourself as like the example. There's a story that Dale Carnegie mentioned in his book book How to Win Friends and Influence People that really comes to mind. I love this. It's like a mini story. I think it's Henry Ford or Andrew Carnegie. They're in like the warehouse and he sees some employees smoking inside of the warehouse. And so he could get, you know, pissed off and, you know, you're not supposed to smoke in there. But what this leader, this boss of the company did, he's walked up to them, gave them all one of his cigars and just said that he'll appreciate it if they smoke it on the outside. That's the perfect example to set. It's like they know they did something wrong, but it's like you could never dislike a guy who brought up your mistake like that. I don't know about like, you know, big movements of like climate change or anything, but I know for a fact that we can have like an individual impact on the people around us by just acting in a certain way. Set the right example. Take a step back from the instant gratification of like, oh man, I don't think I recorded the litter that I saw, but if I just showed you it, like I'm sure so many people would comment and say like, oh, that's not even bad, it's way worse around my house, and that's really sad. But it's just, it makes me like uncomfortable to like visualize some like disgusting people, like some like fat person who just got some McDonald's and he doesn't care about himself or his life or his community, and he just throws shit out the window. But at the same time, hating a person like that is not gonna help us. Like, we have to be better. We have to show that nice example. Scroll down right now and click on the share button underneath this video. Send it over to a friend who might find it interesting. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it.